product, you buy the land, and then, okay, how can we start making money off of it? Or how can we start hosting people? Geodesic domes from Alibaba are like pennies on the dollar. They're really not expensive at all. And then you could have those, have the housing. It would look attractive. It would look cool. A lot of places, for example, my sister in Jordan in Wadi Rum, they have a whole hotel that's just these geodesic domes. And they look cool. They look expensive, but they're not that expensive to purchase. And so the thing that gets me excited is that, just like you were saying, why not just get some lads together and build something? I mean, it is, I think, that easy. Right now I feel like it's just me that has this idea, not of the villages or anything like that, but of the like how to get from A to B as quick as possible. So I was excited to do this because it just, once you see that possible, that something's possible, like what Nico's done, and I can do this, and it probably isn't, I don't think it has to be as hard as it sounds, or as hard as owning land overseas and building something that's permanent sounds. Oftentimes that can be intimidating to people who don't have a real estate background.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think they're a brilliant idea. Yeah, it'd be good to see if you could just pull it off. It's like, the villages like Vanuatu, or like you're saying, in Africa and other properties like that. It's just a real easy approach. You got half a sense about you, get some structures up pretty quick, and start getting a cash flow. It's the way to go.
Yeah. And also Earthhome's geodesic domes are just an example. I like them because I really like architecture, so you can make them look really, really beautiful, but and structurally sound, and you can use them for gyms and all sorts of stuff. Communal spaces, obviously having a round building is really, really good as a communal space, whether that be something that you start the morning in, have the go in the evening to gather. You can leave it open at the top and have a fire and kind of have like a powwow. I really am inspired by how humans used to live in tribes, and having like rites of initiations, having long conversations about topics that we all wanted to discover. And you have that a lot around fire pits right now. But I like the idea of incorporating the materials around you, the earth, etc., to build something that, again, you've built with your own hands. It's going to last a long time. It looks really cool. It has a lot of appeal there, and it connects you with the earth, which I think is valuable, and I think is seems to be a shared trait of this Uncom group. So that's why I'm attracted to the Adobe Earthhomes specifically.
Yeah, sweet. That's epic.
Yeah, funny thing, you were just here, Nate, and then a couple of days later, or a week later, we had Guy Lawrence visiting. He's a friend of mine from Australia who's done a lot of work with Joe Dispenza and runs events along those lines. He's here in Zagreb for an event like that, and then he's going to Portugal. He's got another one. He was talking about the lines and the importance of geometry, and he's been doing a lot of research and study on that. And it's funny that you were having that conversation, we were having that conversation just before, sort of having that conversation with Guy. I remember looking at these Earthships before the California thing existed. I reckon 15, maybe 20 years ago. Like, I was early in my Latin American adventures. I was thinking, like, there's got to be some low cost ways to build houses. If you can get some sort of structure to live in, and you can get some food, then you can just spend your life developing yourself, studying, being around other people who want to do the same. Like, that was the thing that occurred to me when I was backpacking. It's like, well, I never want to go back. I never want to be in the rat race. There's no value in that. How do we do something else? And I couldn't find it. So I went back to work in rugby league. But yeah, now circling back to this conversation, and I was thinking, how the hell would you build something like that? Todd maybe sees it as self-evident, but I don't really see it as being that intuitive of how you would do that. And the ones that I was looking at there were sacks. It was individual sacks, where now what I saw was the longer tubes, which might be maybe a little bit more user-friendly. But really cool to think that something that seemed like a real weird pipe dream a long time ago of, I wonder if anyone ever does this, has turned into a really good business, which is another thing, that it was a big business opportunity back there. But yeah, now we've got the land, and it's literally a case of, okay, how, when do we want to start? How are we going to start? Who's going to be there to stack them on top of each other? But it's very, very doable in Bali. It's very doable in Vanuatu. It's very doable in Montenegro. It's like literally there's no barrier now other than the bit of the knowledge is probably the thing of, how do we start? Like, what do we do? There's tutorials on YouTube. Do we go for that ultra long sack stuff? How do we get that here to Montenegro? Pretty simple stuff to solve, and then we're in the game. So
yeah,
pretty exciting.
It is exciting. And I think what you have going on there in Montenegro is room for having proof of concept. Like you can certainly build these structures to be permanent, but they don't have to be. So say, at a location, say, up that driveway right to the left, that paved driveway right to the left on top there, in Montenegro, you could easily build something up there and wait until you're wanting to build a structure that maybe you or Lubo has more in mind. But for the time being, you can build something there. There are online classes that Cal Earth is looking at. I'm looking at doing their apprentice program, but they don't have actually they don't have somebody at their email and at their phone all the time. So communication's been a little rough, but I'm currently getting in touch with them with if I just take an online class, will I be able to do this? What are the advantages of taking the apprenticeship program? With that, I would want to move into projects and actually have that as a source of income as well. But there are classes this year that I plan on taking, and then I'll be back in Europe in September. So I'd love to come back to Montenegro and do a proof of concept there, whether it be the Earth Dome or whether it be testing out one of those geodesic domes and just seeing how that looks, what it can sustain, if it needs a platform to be built on, etc. So low risk, high reward things that then can be replicated either on the Montenegro site or on other sites that people end up getting. I know Daniel DePau and in Portugal that we talked about yesterday. So just a lot of opportunity. And again, just sparking that idea that, oh, this is possible. I can have a home away from home in a really cool location and be surrounded by people who have similar goals, and we can get stuff done while we're there.
Yeah, this is going to be good crew here for the next couple of months. We got Daniel and Debongo arriving tomorrow, and Sebastian arrives later in the week, and then Fabian's coming the week after. So yeah, it's becoming feasible, like we're getting a dry run of everything at the moment of what's it like, and it's getting better every day. Trampoline just arrived before. That was the mess up at the start of the call. Big trampoline, the kids are pumped. And yeah, they love the gym now, and yeah, we're putting the rings and ropes up. So yeah, Nate helped a lot with like how we were going to conceptualize putting up the ropes and rings, which is a huge breakthrough. The kids have played on them. You saw how they played when you were here, I think.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped. It's like that's what they go and do. They just go and hang out in the rings and swing and jump into the boxing bag went up and they play with that as well. So yeah, table tennis as well is arriving. It just arrived.
Right
I've got an outdoor table tennis set up. So day by day it gets better. The land up the top there is so beautiful up there. It's so peaceful. It's different, a really different feel to down the bottom. Where down the bottom it's like hot and stony, and everything's been torn up because of all the earthworks, and needs some time to settle and heal the land a bit. Up the top is just green and calm, and it's sort of like your own little world. It's cooler. So yeah, anything set up there, it's just going to be so zen and such an amazing place to go sleep, meditate, do deep work. Even like the 4G works, so you could easily go up there and just completely detach from everything else and get computer work done if you want to bring it to the modern world as well. But yeah, there's all sorts of possibilities, and I think more people are going to fall in love with it as they see it and as it gets better. We're getting the polished concrete in the gym as well, so that will go in on Saturday. Yeah, the little flood was like a push to get the other floor done, and that's going to be in the restaurant as well. So the restaurant floor is going to be nicer too, and we're probably going to go all the way out in front of the bathrooms. The second bathroom's now functional as well. I don't think it was functional while you were here, but just step by step. Like I know it's chaos, and like it's a bit embarrassing having people here. You know, it's when your room's super dirty and your friends see your room or something. But I think it's better to show it and show the process, and just be astonished by each time you come. It's better, and I think that's better than trying to wait until it's perfect, because
Yeah.
it's not going to happen as instantly as as Nico's was, or in other places.
Yeah. Well, it's just like we were talking about, stacking bricks, just step by step.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that was an attraction for me that I actually got to participate in helping it. And so like anybody who comes out, which I cannot recommend more, the more improves, the prouder you'll be to look back and be like, oh yeah, I built that part, or I cleaned up that part, or so to have had a hand in this, and not just to have it done by a professional crew who will swoop in and do it, I think adds its own value.
Yeah, there's something special to that. And,
Yeah.
they talk about you every day here. Like they're definitely looking forward to you coming back, and you're one of the favorites. Nigel always speaks about Bradley as well, that was here before. So yeah, it really means so much to people here. I think that's something that's hard to get across digitally as well. Is that this means the world to Yubo and his family, and they're getting a better and better place to sort of be part of as well, which is really fun to.
Yeah.
One of the good things that comes with this.
Yeah, and and sorry, Garrett, I see you have your hand up. One thing I just wanted to add right at the end of that thought is I really love the way what Nico has. For me, particular, I love, and I was inspired by the Montenegro village, because people in Montenegro don't usually think that people have much interest in their country. I mean, people in small countries in general, they're like, why would Americans come here and stuff like that? It's a bit of a generalization, but tends to be in non-touristic countries, people are much more appreciative of people being appreciative of their country. I mean, Lubo takes a ton of pride in his country and his background and his lineage, and the fact that some person comes to help him build his dream and takes an interest in his food, his culture, his family, his property, just means so much to Lubo. And that's kind of, again, what I like about the idea of hands-on building what you can then live in, is that you're going to inevitably have to have some of the locals around. So you're not just going to be, you're not going to be removed from the community. There's going to be a lot of cultural aspects to a place when you get your hands dirty and have to deal with like the local suppliers, et cetera, and eat the local food and things like that. So that's something that attracts me about that style. Yeah.
There's nice integration in Bali with the community and stuff. It's really
okay, cool. Yeah. I didn't mean anything by that.
No, but it's special here as well, and it's different in each culture and country, and they do really value. They like having that culture interaction as well.
Yeah.
It's partly plan B as well for me. It's like if things get rough, we're well connected into local community. We're not going to be the ones that are targets. We're going to be, getting help to get some more goats. And like, it's good to know that you're already in versus being the foreigners on the hill. It's like nobody really knows and thinks you're a bit weird. We maybe have that to some degree,
Yeah.
They are wondering why all these muscular, lean, guys turn up to this one place. Like, what's actually going on here? Some kind of military camp or something.
Yeah.
But gradually it'll become clear to them, and yeah. Dylan, Garrett.
Yeah, that was great. That was an interesting night. I remember when I lived in Colorado, there was a family that they had a house on their land, but they also built these like kind of halfway in underground homes. So the dome was it had a dome, and the grass was growing over the top of it. So it's kind of like more like a hobbit home in a way.
Sure.
I remember being pretty fascinated with that. And he also, the gentleman who owned the land, also had a couple of like families living in trailer homes and RVs on there. I think he just kind of let people live out there, which was first time I ever like saw and experienced that. So just that kind of popped in my head. I'm sure the halfway underground homes was probably in an area that didn't flood too often. So I don't know how that would work in certain places. But yeah, this stuff's really cool. I did have a question, like with trying to build a village in another country or buying land. What's the biggest barrier to entry? Is it the legal part of it, where some countries are not really cool with other people buying their land, or is it just primarily financial?
I think a lot of other countries really like it when people come in and as long as they're not coming in and just enacting their will and disregarding the culture. I think a lot of cultures do, at least in my experience, do really like that integration. Again, that's just been my experience. But I'd say the biggest barrier to entry is just figuring out the legal part of it, the taxes and things like that. And I can share some of the sites that I look at on buying land and buying cheap property and things along those lines. Also, if you're bringing in something that's economically beneficial to the local community, that's often seen as something that's very valuable and very appreciated, as opposed to if you got something, just that you would barricade it in, and you don't involve the local community in what you do. So yeah, it's just the specifics is the big thing. And then of course for this, it'd be getting the money together. If something is particularly big or in, like, say, oceanfront or something like that, it would take a little bit more money. But you can get something provincially in even Portugal or Morocco for $10,000 to $30,000 and have a place that you can start building on. So at that point, it would then be like, okay, predicting what the taxes and stuff like that would be. And also, obviously, you want to make sure the government's stable. That's a big one.
Yeah, I would assume so. I guess that pops up two questions, but I don't want to take up too much time. See, what was the one? Do you have people who you would hire to actually do some more research into how the local government is and how it is to live there for like safety's sake? Someone who's like an intelligence expert.
It would be probably a lawyer. Either that or if somebody already owns the land, like Daniel, for example, that I mentioned, or Lubo, for example, then they can handle all that. And I think, Keegan, were you saying that in Montenegro, it tends to be a little bit more hands-off? People aren't always breathing down your neck, like, are you building this correctly and stuff? Is that right? Do you have a little more leeway?
Yeah, there's still regulation, but it's moderate regulation, nothing compared to most Western countries now. Australia, you need permission to like dig a hole with the shovel, like foot deep. I'm not literally Garrett, but it's like, it's ridiculous regulation to the point where you have to be petrified about starting anything. And that is a huge barrier to innovation. It's a barrier to great people coming together and doing great things. And we need to take that barrier out of the equation as much as possible. And men want to travel anyway. So one of the cool things, Dylan, is that we have players on the ground in a lot of countries now. And if we want to set up something in another country, it's pretty easy to say, hey, like if they're already in Uncommon Success, great. If they're not, and we want to do something in a country we don't have anyone yet, like it's pretty easy to find people now. And we've got a way to initiate them and to show them what we're all about. And it's like, if it is through Uncommon Success, that you can build trust very, very quickly through this network. I was speaking to a man from Dubai this morning, 24-year-old, very innovative, I think well-connected there in Dubai. He's like, man, that's really cool what you're doing. Like, and he's in AI technology around farming and around organ transplant innovation of sorts. Yeah. And he's like, wow, this is really cool. Like I've got this connection with Bugatti labeling. If you want to do Bugatti villages, like talk to me about it. And it's kind of a funny play on the, all the Andrew Tate, like what color is your Bugatti? It's sort of like, what, is your village a Bugatti? Is another conversation. But yeah, there's so many people out there that are looking for these kinds of opportunities that I think the reach of our network and the ability to have local people on the ground who speak the language, who care, who want to be involved. I think that is going to be a lot easier with this network and where things are going than how they might otherwise have been. For example, we've got Manish there in India, who's building his village on the hill there, and he's looking for support from us with this, with his project. I think that Earthships could be an amazing thing to propose that could be part of that project. He's got 12 hectares of family land, which is a lot. And then he's got another block where he's looking to actually do the village site with the gym and everything. But like it's not as wacky as it first seems, especially if you then go and speak, okay, yeah, we want to do one in Albania. There's an Oncom player in Albania. There's they're going to talk to you about what the conditions are like locally. And I would love to have partnerships with them, that they have a share in the village, that that potentially their family is going to be involved in the construction and running and all those sorts of things as well. Like it's great to think about how that can all play together.
So how you sorry.
Go ahead.
How have you integrated or like bring value to the locals? Do you have any examples of that?
Well, go ahead, Keegan. You are doing it currently.
Well, you can share about your experience here. I think you experienced it as much as anyone, of like what it's. Yeah, I can explain more.
Yeah, I mean, in Lubo's position, I will brag for Keegan for him. It was Lubo was a very successful grocer. He had some very successful grocery stores, and he decided to move to his family's land and develop it. And after COVID, because a lot of his business was goat farming, so he would serve like cheese and milk and just like really high-end products. Well, after COVID, that all went away. He had to sell his goats, and he really wasn't in a great position. And here Keegan and his family rock along because his daughter saw this camping sign, and so they rock up this steep driveway, and all of a sudden they have a partnership, and now Keegan has helped Lubo's business. Lubo in a massive way is helping Keegan's business, so they're sharing each other's vision. I mean, that's not just helping the local economy, that is helping a local's dream come true. And combining the vision to make it even more than either of them probably had on their own. And then so that's a big one. I is done with that kind of meaning that's going to that intersperses throughout families right there in communities. On a more just kind of economic level, imagine you have land and you've just never thought about doing anything with it, or this concept has never occurred to you, and now here comes someone who's like, hey, you have some beautiful land, I love that land, I would love to make something on it. And then you would now be making profit from just unused land. So bringing along an opportunity that they might have not even seen, but seeing it through fresh eyes gave them now another business or side income or what have you. Again, the cultural integration with whoever visits and helps build only helps strengthen intercultural bonds. And then you're ordering food from the local area. You're like in Montenegro, we got yogurt, honey, cheese, a bunch of stuff from a local farmer who then we got to go visit, and so we're helping him. The Montenegro village is providing people that need to eat, and obviously you need food from that. And so we are doing a lot of stuff for the local community. So those are some examples of what I mean. I'm sure there's heaps of stuff that I don't even foresee.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely huge for the local. I mean, for this family, it's completely life-changing for him and his daughters and wife. Like, they have a beautiful home now, and they have people coming from around the world. It's getting more beautiful by the day, but it was tough. They were in a tough spot when we arrived, and it's they have a good life, and it gets better every week at the moment. And we purchase a lot of stuff off local farmers, and the local farmers, if they don't, like, they sometimes don't have any market for their stuff. So it's sort of like, yeah, it's significant and they're Lubo's friends, but everything that we build and buy in Montenegro, it's very much a local economy. It's quite protected from the outside. So when we buy windows, we were doing this polished concrete floor, when we bought this little house, it's all local people doing the work, and they want work here. That's the thing of, we've got this demented Western version of work and business owners and owners in general, that it's all exploitative. It's not actually the case. It's like, if there's no work, they have to leave. And so they have to leave their own country, their own land, especially the villages. They've all left. Like 90% of the people left the villages because there's no work, where we're making it that there is a little bit of work for some of them. But it's not just that they leave the village, it's that they leave the country. They go to Germany, they go to America, and their whole culture is lost. Their language is lost. Like, everything is lost in the process. And a lot of the best men from these kinds of countries have left, and they'll never come back. Like, their families will stay in those countries. And I met lots of Serbian, Croatian families in Australia. I didn't understand where they were coming from or what the circumstances were that drove them out of their countries. So yeah, it's a big discussion, but the thing of providing work is a huge thing. Like, in Bali, there was no work. COVID meant there was no work. There's no tourism. There's literally no cash economy. They're literally living off whatever grows out of the ground, like living on weeds and shoots and stuff. And so when there's work again, they're so grateful. Like, they all want to work Sundays because it's like, there's work, we get work. Like, it's like Christmas that there's work. And I think we, as men in the West, we haven't understood that reality of like, no, if there's no work, like, it's really tough and it's not good. And so they're so grateful that there is work and that there's materials and money to be able to do that work with. And yeah, it's not always this exploitative thing when there's a boss and there's a work opportunity. It's like, no, someone has to lead these things and take on all the responsibility and risk and funding things. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing to have these projects. And Vanuatu is the same. Like, from the outside, especially looking at it through the Black Lives Matter kind of lens that has been pushed over the years, it's like, oh, okay, the white man's over there and they're like making the black guys build the houses. Those men are so proud of themselves. They know how to build now. Like, they didn't know how to use tools before, and they want to know how to use tools, and they want to be able to buy stuff from the shops and look after their families. And most of them have the dream of having a house like what they're learning to build. They want to have something like that for themselves. Like, they're just men. They're men who want to have the best, and we all like leveling up. Like, we dress well, we buy good stuff, we study things. Like, we want respect, we want to be proud, and they're exactly the same. And we're giving them the opportunity to level up, and they're grateful that we're there to do that, because otherwise, same deal in Vanuatu. They have to go to the capital city. They have to leave their families. They have to leave their land if they want to make cash. Otherwise, they stay at home and they live semi-subsistent from the land. And it looks romantic, of like, they can pretty much survive just off bananas and potatoes and some wild pig and whatnot. But they want more than that. They want to learn other stuff. And a lot of them go to Australia and New Zealand to get some cash. So they leave their family completely. They pick up other habits and other shit that's in the West. And sometimes they bring it back, or sometimes they don't come back. And it's not that everything in the West is bad, but they're excited that there's opportunity on their island rather than having to go to other places. But yeah, these are good conversations to have and good things to think about as well. Like, I'm sure there are negatives to wherever we go and what we do, and it's not like anything's going to be perfect in this sense either. But it's also not some kind of modern slavery that everyone here feels depressed and downtrodden by what we're doing.
Yeah exactly.
It's far from that. It's beautiful.
Like that would never cross your mind unless somebody brought it up. at
But
all.
when you look at it from a distance, it's like, oh yeah, maybe that's what it's like. Maybe it's, the rich guys come and they just exploit the local people, and yeah, but I guess it's possible, but it just doesn't really work like that. Like, men want opportunity. If there's other men who come with new learnings, then good men just want to learn the teachings and take it on. And I think that's been going on a lot more than the negative stuff. Maybe there's been negative stuff in history, but there's also been a lot of that of like, oh, these guys know something we don't know. Like, how do I learn this? How do I apply this?
Yeah.
In every culture, in every direction. Like, the Western world is mostly built on knowledge that came from the Middle East and Asia, and the Marco Polo and all of that stuff. Like, it's not unidirectional. I think it's a universal thing of, if they know something we don't know, then we want to learn it and apply it and pass it on to our children.
Exactly. And it's not like we're the only ones bringing in knowledge. Like, Lubo knows this wouldn't happen without Lubo.
Yeah, and they get that respect as well. Like, I don't know how to do 99% of what goes on here. They're working it out. They build in a different way, but I don't have a building background. Like, they're solving stuff all the time. Simple things. I'll ask Lubo, like, how are we gonna do that? And it's like, he knows already, and or he's just used to coming up with solutions, where I'm just used to thinking about calling a builder or plumber or electrician so yeah. It's a good exchange.
Garrett, sorry, man, you've had your hand up for ages.
It's all good. I'm super excited about this because before Uncom, I was never interested in earning money because of the paradigm of what you guys are speaking about, how the people with money are just taking advantage, and I don't want to be like them. And so it's super empowering to hear y'all say how you're affecting these communities in such a substantial and significant way. Like, I have a guy that I work with, and he's from Mexico, and whenever he's the guy that wants to work, like, he pushes me to find more work and stuff like that. So just to add to what y'all are saying about that. And then I had two things to share. One is those earth ships that you're talking about. There's a guy in New Mexico that started making them, and he literally has a reality TV show now where he'll have like 50 interns show up for free labor to build these houses for these high-end clients. And so, like, that's what we're kind of developing in a sense, is once we have all of it figured out, we're going to be able to offer that as a service to build with basically free labor, which that's typically one of the biggest issues in a construction project is the quality and skill of your labor and the quantity. And so the fact that we're like planting those seeds right now is really exciting to me. And then if anyone ever has any questions about that stuff, my permaculture instructor, like, I can ask him questions anytime. And through his course, he already talks about different styles of architecture and like natural ventilation and stuff like that, and sectioning it. So right along with what y'all are talking about. So I just wanted to offer that out to say, anytime anyone has that, I have a good resource for learning about that type of information.
That'd be great. We should connect after this for sure then. Yeah, because I think, I really love the idea of getting my own hands dirty, but if I can't be there, or if somebody who is planning the village can't be there, it's great to be able to share your knowledge with everybody, so that then they can do that work and create it. So that'd be fantastic to connect.
Alex, welcome. Alex is on tomorrow. We're talking farming, farmlands, and
oh yeah, right on.
Farmer
Indeed,
too.
yeah, so yeah, very looking forward to that. And yeah, I think these are all linked, but my question, I've heard a couple of talks about earthships, and Garrett, I think I listened to a really interesting Paul Chek podcast with, I think it's the same guy, Michael Reynolds, and I just thought it was fascinating how he describes one man's trash as another man's treasure. And Nate or anyone, Keegan, I don't know if you've had, well, one idea he really swears by is using old tires and as walls and insulation, and packing them with dirt, and how you can get hold of those so freely, and all kinds of things like glass, which just kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. I don't know if you've had any experience with that.
That was actually my first experience with it was yurts, like yurt homes, things like that. That's a very popular style of housing in Taos, New Mexico. Which Garrett, you probably heard of. Yeah. That was the first ever I saw that. So that's another opportunity. A buddy of mine in Germany, where I was just at, he built a like clay, mud, and hay sauna. So now he has a sauna that you can just go into that, cost pretty much nothing because he just used what was on his land. So the fact that you can have a resource that you there, again, sauna in the round building and the tires in those buildings, those are like, just the structure of them almost calls you to come in and have some sort of communal experience in there, because you're all facing each other. You can talk. You're usually centered around something in particular that's right in the middle of the room, whether it be a fire or eucalyptus over hot stones or something like that. But yeah, anyways, to your point, that's actually quite a popular thing here. And I love that idea of using the resources that are around you. And the cool thing about that is it's probably going to differ in every country. Like in one country, you might have more multiple clay. In another country, you might have more sand. In another country or another property, you might have a bunch of those tires. So anyways, thanks for that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, using what's around you, I think it just makes sense, doesn't it? And I know for people who maybe don't have as much money to spend, for the likes of concrete and wood, and I know people I work with, if the cost of that's tripled over here recently, and just another option.
Yeah, and you can make that all look really, really fantastic. It doesn't have to. I really like the rustic idea of just having something that you just built, but you can make it resort level looking. Just so those possibilities are definitely there, no matter what the structure happens to be made out of. And a lot of people, I think their fear is if you make it out of something natural, that it will disintegrate. I know, Keegan, you were talking about how you had an experience with, I think, a mud hut or something like that, and it kind of fell in. And I think that happens with a lot of people when they're first two, but that's the idea of experimenting with something that is not super expensive and that you get to use a little bit of your creativity in. But these things are permanent. I mean, you look at structures in the Middle East that are built out of clay, they still exist. Structures in Ireland built out of stone, they still exist. So just because it's built out of natural products or byproducts doesn't mean it can't last forever or be extremely aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. Great points.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? We were talking about goals, Nate, of let's get one of these somewhere in the world where someone can sleep in or have an experience in this. I think we said within the next 12 months, didn't we? Or did we say by the end of the year?
My goal is by the end of the year. Yeah. Right now I've been focused on kind of the Cal Earth because it's near LA where I normally live. And they have a course in Spain in October and November. And those would allow you to, it's not like apprentice level. I think their next apprentice workshop is in January, but you will leave being able to know how to build like a single sleeping dome, which is exactly what would be fantastic for a proof of concept in Albania. So that is my goal, is to put something together. I also have, my goal is in July to put a presentation of like the resources that can get you started, so that people can take it away, whether it be a PDF, so that people who don't have any idea about this can at least, we can start combining minds just by giving them a place to start. So that's my personal goal for this month.
Love it. I want to also have a discussion around SEO and making more money at some stage as well, because I think that's also going to fuel the villages when we share what's working business wise. And I love what Garrett said of it's like taking the resistance away from having financial capacity, because you can see where it's going. Oh,
Yeah.
Seb's got something to share there as well.
Hey guys, I have been listening in. I've just been doing some other things. I'm here at the airport right now, so it's not the best, but it's quieted down a little bit now. Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to touch upon is that you don't have to start with such a big project to kind of get your hands dirty. One of the things that got me kind of started out, and I've only built small things, but it really was just kind of like, okay, like, can I build a little pizza oven? Can I build a little chair that I can sit on that, you know, I can put in my garden and see how it wears out after a couple of years? You know, having those little experiments that just kind of get your hands dirty and playing with the material is completely different to like theorizing about something and reading about it. And it's one of those things that later, when you're actually applying it and you're building your house or you're building this structure that's a little bit bigger, you already understand how the material reacts, and you already have that sort of kinetic experience with the material. So I would say that's really valuable for those of you who want to explore this a little bit more, to just find a small project that you can do, a bench, a pizza oven, whatever it is, and play around with it in that way.
Yes, I'll just jump on there, Sebastian. A great point. I recently did a little tour around the local mill and picked up loads of pallets, and I've just created a chicken coop and run down the side of our house. And yeah, on the cheap, and it's looking good. Talking about what Keegan said about problem solving, it really expands your mind and makes you realize what's possible with very little. So yeah, ready for the chickens to move in now imminently.
You
That's
definitely
awesome.
have to fight against that perfectionist mentality if you've got it. When you start, you know, getting odd pieces of wood here and there, like nothing matches, but you know, does it work? And can I make it look aesthetical, even if every piece is different and you know it's not perfect, but does it work? And does it have character?
We need to do something here. Sebastian's going to be here in Montenegro.
I'm so ready to like.
When are you arriving?
On the 13th.
13th, yeah. So there's chickens here, but they've had to stay inside since the puppies have been here, or the puppies have got bigger. The puppies are causing the chickens problems. So one of the either training the puppies is a potential solution, but they're like hunting dogs, and our dog was also mental with the chickens, even though she's like a really good dog normally. So I don't know if they're going to change that much, but some way of getting the chickens outside is essential for the chickens to be healthier. So I'm thinking like the chicken tractor type concept of, you know, some sort of solution where they can have some outdoor experience. They need to get more greens. They probably need to get more protein as well. There's so many grasshoppers around here. Be like, I know there's projects where you have worm factories and grasshopper factories that can be, you know, food for the chickens as well. So yeah, there's all this kind of stuff to work on. I would love to be diving into a lot of it. I feel like at the moment it's kind of irresponsible for me to go investigating how to have a grasshopper farm when we're in, you know, an important growth phase, and all of our team's pretty stretched with how hard we're going. Seb's on the team, so he knows what it's like. So yeah, like that's where there is opportunity for team, and you know, I would like to employ a full-time farmer here, someone who wants to live here and use the gym and use the network, but also do some work with goats and sheep, and it's good for growing veggies and stuff. There's a nice veggie patch here, but I know it's going to happen. It's just a question of the time. Like I put up on my IG from time to time, who wants to move here as a farmer? I know eventually it's going to get solved. Like we'll click into the right network, and there are good networks out there to find those connections. But yeah, also I guess this is a call to arms of like, don't wait for someone else to solve it. If you do see a solution and you want to apply something, like there's willingness within this group, and there's labor, and there will be resources. But like, how do we, you know, if you want to lead something, whether it's on the information side of it or even supporting from a distance, Nate, if you're able to support some sort of development here of, yeah, I'm going to support one of the people who's in the village to do this thing while he's there and go back and forward. Like, I don't know, whoever, when you're listening to the recordings as well, there might be something that comes to mind of like, oh yeah, this is a project I can help with, I can support. For me, a lot of this stuff's really foreign. Like, it's quite easy for me to build an online business and do a lot of the stuff that I do, but then building a little box for chickens to be in is quite intimidating for me, where for other people it might be the opposite way. And so yeah, that's the beauty of having a diverse network as well. And I love that we're bringing this group together, and we're all from all over the place. We've got all different kinds of experiences, and now we're launching into this thing. Like, it's probably the most uncomfortable thing I've done is to have this village in Montenegro and just deal with it's muddy and it's like this and that, and what are we paying for next, and all these expenses pop up, and it's good, it's growth and it's opportunity, and everyone, I would love for everyone to experience some of that discomfort and pleasure as well, with what we're doing in Montenegro and Vanuatu. Andreas is there at the moment in Vanuatu, and slowly it's going to be everywhere. If you want to go to India while Manish is building out, like, that's going to start really soon, the build in India. Like, what an experience to go hang out, help out. And that's why I want everyone to have online businesses and incomes and such as well, that it's like, yeah, cool, like my business is going to go just as well or better, and I'm going to get these other life experiences. For me, that's the dream, and it's happening. So it's going to be an exciting month having other people here, having kind of a full house in Montenegro. Yeah,
I will back that up. Just if you can get to Montenegro and actually get your hands dirty and help in the build, you'll be so satisfied. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing coming from most of our backgrounds to wake up when the sun's up, work around people who aren't hustling and bustling. They're just doing work. Like Lubo, he's always like slowly. And I'm just like, okay, I gotta go fast. And he's slowly, like, things will get done. So it's almost like a mindset reshift, just being there and being around those locals. And the work gets done, it gets itself done. And then, you eat really well. And at the end of the day, you go to bed satisfied. I mean, it's such a fantastic feeling. So I can't recommend getting out to Montenegro more, and hopefully sooner than later, because someday it's going to look really fantastic and that's going to be awesome. But right now you have the opportunity to actually get your hands dirty and like put your imprint into the construction, into that dream.
You're muted.
You're
sorry,
silent, Keegan.
Yeah. It was it feels like it's 5-star now compared to where we were, but it's still a few stars to come. Yubo just jumped in. I don't know if do you want to share anything, Yubo? Nate's here. We've just been talking about Montenegro and the villages.
Hey, Lubo.
Hello, Nate, my man.
How you doing?
I'm good. I go bar, finish something with Dunja.
Oh, nice. Tell Dunja hi.
Dunja, pozdravite Nate.
Hi.
What you doing?
We're talking about how everybody should come building out of the village, and what a great experience it was to meet you and your family, and how well we ate, and just what a rewarding experience it was to get out there, and then how we can expand that to other places around the world.
Thank you so much. You're very good, man. We work and we talk and building, everything be good when you be here. We need many people like you.
There's plenty in this group that will be there eventually, I'm sure.
Very good energy.
I had a great time there. I miss you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. You miss.
Very good. I was thinking about the it could end up being the hotel up the top, fully off grid, Earthship hotel resort. And then if we ever decide we want to do the other version, you know, it'll be easy enough to do that. But it's pretty doable. You didn't get the full tour. Have you seen that podcast that I did with Jay Top? I'm asking you, Nate.
Oh, sorry. No.
I'll send you it because it takes a more of a tour around the place. I think I see if I think the raw footage is pretty much there, like all around. We didn't get to look. There's a circle as well, stone circle. I don't know if you went there.
No, that'd be awesome to see.
But yeah, step by step. I appreciate everyone jumping in. I appreciate the conversation. There is the Villagers chat. There's the Montenegro one as well. We're always open to ideas and suggestions. Yeah, please think. Anything is possible. It might be 2 years away. It might be 2 months away. But anything that we can think of, it's on the cards that it's going to happen in the next couple of years. So, don't think that anything is okay. That's not impossible because I can't do it myself, or because I can't fund it, or because whatever. Like, let the creative energy flow, and we'll solve those things. I'm sure we're going to solve a lot more over these next few months and years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to your point there, just to speak on Lubo's behalf, Lubo had a vision. He didn't know how he was going to come up with the money, things like that, but he knew what he wanted to do. And here comes Keegan, and then they partner up and they combine forces. So that's just a good example of like how having that vision and then and how shared resources can come together, even though at the beginning you don't know exactly how it's going to happen.
It could be exactly the same for you, or it could be that someone comes along and does that for this whole network, or who knows. But good things are coming. So appreciate all the work that you're doing. Keep working hard on the individual projects that you have, but don't be afraid to share your vision with others. I appreciate you sharing something that you've been thinking a lot about over the years, Nate. There's also a lot of energy to do something in Portugal. I know that's like one of the places that's come up quite a bit. It's a location I've heard about from quite a few people within Uncom. So yeah, step by step, we build this all over the world. That's the game.
Absolutely. And please reach out to me on Telegram, Nate Johnson. I'd love to talk to any of you about that and keep that conversation going further.
It's and is it, did you change your handle?
Oh no, N8 DUDE. Nate, dude. Old childhood nickname.
Yeah. If anyone wants to share their Calendly link around this as well, if there's anything that's come up, if you want to connect with each other, that's maybe something that we could make easier on these calls. The plan is to put it as a filter in the app where you can filter by the types of calls that you want to do, particularly around like to do the sales training calls or the language exchange calls. But the friction with the dev has become less with the work that was done over the last couple of months. It was taking like minutes for things to compute sometimes. Hey, Seb. So it's going to be, we've got a lot of plans for making it easier. Taking the friction out is the key. We're taking the friction out of building a village. We're taking the friction out of being connected with great men all around the world. We're taking the friction out of getting investment in things. I'd like to take the friction out of you having your own app. It's something that Seb's working on as well. Like if it's just if we can keep lowering the barrier and we keep stepping up at the same time, it's not that everything's meant to be easy. There's still going to be challenges on the other side. It just doesn't have to be there. The challenges should be further along on the journey rather than the ones that we're stopping at now. It's not going to get any easier. It's just more fun. I think that's what it is. Like, it was tough to be a backpacker at 24 and wander around Latin America, figure out what I was going to do next. And it's tough now to do what I'm doing, but it's more fun now. It's better now. Like, keep going to the next level, play at the next level, and solve for that level. Not expecting it to be easier, but it is definitely, it is more fun. There's no way I would go back, and having wife and children along on the journey is also a great part of it, which I'd highly recommend as well if anyone hasn't started that yet. But each of you on your path, and we're here to support. I'm here to support. Lubo's here to support. the villages are, and we support each other. You know, that's the special thing about what's happening now. A lot of us, we've only known each other a few months, and it's already like there's a strong trust there, you know, where you would really value being around. So I encourage the face-to-face connections as well. I know some of you have been having them. It's worth getting out on the road to meet and inviting people over. Did you have anything else you want to finish with, Nate?
No, well, I guess, you know, the biggest thing is like, if you're feeling like you've been thinking of this on your own or whatever, and also I like the idea of when you take one lesson from one particular subject, like we're talking about earth homes and building villages and stuff like that, taking that same mentality of like, what's my vision? I don't know how to get there yet, but if I have something, like, don't just shut it down because you don't have the experience or the know-how, or because you think that you're unqualified, or that someone else is way more qualified. So like, it's very easy to have that that inferiority complex around certain things, or imposter syndrome around certain things. But sometimes if you have that idea, it might be just what somebody else has been looking for. So I would just say, don't let this stop at villages, but it can carry over to other parts of your life and businesses.
Thank you so much. We'll leave it there for now. I appreciate you jumping in. If you want to sign off, welcome to say goodbye, and we'll connect again soon.
Sounds good. Can't wait. Great to talk to you guys. Great to
Let's
meet
keep
you.
building it. I appreciate that, Nate. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Keegan.
Inspiring.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, chaps.
Yeah,
Thanks,
good
Alex.
chat, legends.
Good times.
Let's have some more villages in the future.
This way, it's inevitable.
The next sort of level is going to be like how, like, it's not going to be like how do we establish the villages, but how do we establish the interconnectivity between those villages and make it a network of villages? You know, that's a little bit down the line, but
Yeah, there's a lot of
something to think
mystery.
about.
There's a lot of mystery, and that's a good thing. I think the fun is in how's it all unfold. I don't know, but let's enjoy the journey. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Dylan. See you soon, Seb. We'll speak soon.
See you guys.
See you, Kenny.